and Asia, including including the University of Valencia, Spain, the Architect University of Norway, Parents Institute, Norway, and Bursa Uludağ University, Turkey. She is an active member of the Polish Political Science Association and the Polish Geopolitical Association, where she chairs the North American section. Her dedication to the field of political science, vast knowledge, make her an excellent guest speaker for today's topic. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Magdalena Komelska to the virtual stage.
Thank you.
Please
thank you.
proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Faisal, for your warm greetings. I also would like to welcome everyone who appeared on our webinar. Regards from cloudy Olsztyn in Poland. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be your guest, and I hope that one day, as I said at the beginning, I will be giving speeches personally at your department. And just to sum up, great applause for Dr. Faisal for Polish pronunciation. Amazing job. All right, so today I would like to present my records on research that I am working on. This research is mainly conducted to American foreign policy in the most important part of the world, as the Middle East is. Let me show you my screen. And we can start. Okay, I hope everything is seen.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so as Faisal said, I work in the Institute of Political Science at the University of Warmia and Mazury in Olsztyn since 2012. So it's almost it's more like a decade. Okay. The American centric world order, shaped after the end of the Cold War, is being questioned today by dynamically growing old and new centers of powers, such as Russia and mainly China. Entities united in opposition to American hegemony pursue policies that challenges not only the United States world position, but most importantly, American interests. This process is especially seen in the wake of the civil war in Syria. So the aim of my speech today is to present briefly the American Middle East strategy in the context of the process of redistribution of power in the region, influenced by establishing Iran, Russia, and Turkey triangle. I believe that the Syria's war, civil war, stimulated the formulation of this triangle, as well as significantly influenced the further evolution of the balance of power in the region, posing a direct challenge and indirect threat to American position and its interest in the wide Middle East region. So I believe that there is a strong need to correct American Middle East strategy, as the one implemented so far opened the door to the powers to compete for the influence in this, as I said, unique region in the world. At the beginning, I would like to make some remarks on the question I put it on the slide: why the Middle East really matters, why this region is so special, for not only for Americans, but also for different powers around the world. So the Middle East region holds a unique position in contemporary international relations. Its geopolitical location at the conjunction of three continents, Europe, Africa, and Asia, with access to crucial communication routes, puts it in the spotlight of attention for global powers. The uniqueness of the Middle East unquestionably enchants its resources potential, which is not without significance for energy-consuming global economies, mainly for China. After all, the strategic importance of the Middle East in the politics of great powers has been determined by culture and religious condition, as well as ethnicity. The region poses a challenge to the interest of the main players in the international area who shape a specific balances of power through their involvement in the area based on its own forced to act and build their potential primarily due to the anarchic nature of international relations, which is, in my opinion, the feature of international relations established after the end of the Cold War, that they are so chaotic and uncertainty for the intention of other entities. The core of post-Cold War order was the US dominant position in the region, which allowed American administration to be given some freedom in building relations in the Middle Eastern allies and of course partners, as well as it gave a lot of room for maneuver towards regional antagonists and rivals of the United States. Thus, the Middle East has become one of the American areas on influence in the global order known as Pax Americana. The skillful combination of soft and hard power as two complementary instruments of US foreign and security policy spoke in favor for the existence of such a hegemonic world order established at the beginning of the 90s last century. Nevertheless, the 21st century has brought a significant modification in perception of the American role in the world. The global American-centric balance of power is being successfully challenged by players such as I mentioned before, China and Russia equally, transferring the competition on the regional level to different parts of the world. For instance, not only Middle East, but the Caucasus region, Central Asia, South Asia, where they effectively pursue their businesses by questioning the existing status quo. In applying a proactive policy in the region, they are supported by tactical or strategic alliances with influential middle level powers, with which they often share common interest, for instance, reduce the American influence, or the will to withstand, of course, American hegemony and the revision of world order, which was established by the Americans. The main assertion that triggered the reconfiguration of the balance of power at the global and regional levels, that the US was unable to create an effective instrument for managing international order at the turn of the 20th century to 21st centuries, basing its hegemony on hard power and the idea of universal values that are being held in Western countries. This approach was too narrow and short-sighted in the context of complicated and chaotic international environment. The US global strategy, unfortunately, lacks of stabilizing instrument and pro-development instruments that would significantly increase the effectiveness and the dynamics of American world leadership. The American policy concerning the Middle East region in a conscious and evolutionary way began to shape in the first half of the 20th century, becoming a permanent element of American foreign and security policy and some kind of manifestation of US growing role of the influential and powerful player in the international area. The apogee of this trend was achieved after the US gained the position of a superpower, and accordingly, the ability to independently manage the regional order, not only in the Middle East, but generally worldwide. Basically, as a part of international American strategy, gained particular importance in the mid of the 1940s. It was related to the transformation of the global order towards a bipolar system and the resulting geostrategic, economic, and domestic unrest in Washington. The underlying determinant of American strategy in this region of the world was to maintain a dominant position and to maximize its interest defined as power. At early Cold War confrontation, the United States decided to provide military and economic support, for instance, to the Republic of Turkey, in the framework of the Truman Doctrine, to prevent, of course, the USSR from extending the influence in that part of the world. Although the Middle East was treated as a side shadow by Stalin, the US preferred to take measures preventing a possible expansion of Soviets in the Middle East. The US would not be able to achieve such influence in this part of the world if the Brits were not present there. The disintegration of the British Empire after the Second World War created a vacuum that was easily exploited by the US. Maintaining the US dominant position in the Middle East was by the doctrine of contaminant, which was established, of course, by administration of Harry Truman. And they continued during the times this doctrine, which was based on supporting countries threatened by international communists with the packages of military and economic aid. As a result, the US managed to create, that was very important, a system of relations based on clientelistic model. For instance, the relations with Saudi Arabia, whose economic and military nature. Within primary interests in the Middle East, we can point, American interests, of course, we can point out three general interests which are still valid. The first interest is preserving the existence and the security of Israel. Second interest, ensuring the stability of powers Persian Gulf state powers, such as Saudi Arabia. And the third, also very important thing, is ensure and waiving access to energy resources. So the realization of American interest in the Middle East almost throughout the entire Cold War period was served by offshore balancing concept, which was based on using privileged regional powers by a power in order to suppress the growth of potentially hostile forces towards the aforementioned power. At the initial stage of the Cold War confrontation, the US implemented offshore balancing using the twin pillar strategy with regard to its regional partners. Until 1979, it was Iran, before the revolution hit the country, and of course, Saudi Arabia, which is still an important ally of the US in the region. Of course, the dynamics is changing, as we can see. For instance, the latest developments in the region concerning Chinese factor meddling between Saudi Arabia and Iran. But let's get down to my speech, because I will tell another issue. Even if there were signs of shift away from offshore balancing in the Cold War time, the United States consistently avoided steady military involvement and forced transformation of the region, steering the process from the back seat. The US victory in the Cold War gave a rise of so-called Pax Americana. However, the new geopolitical balance of power didn't significantly influence the reconfiguration of the US interest in the Middle East. They are still the same: Israel, Gulf states, and energy resources. On the other hand, the means and methods of the US Middle East strategy, henceforth defined as unilateralism, militarism, and promotion of democracy, and I would like to emphasize that the promotion of democracy in American style include force-based solutions, have been clearly ratified. New challenges and threats to international security, terrorism in particular, proliferation of WMD, as well as rough states